Welcome, Summoners, to Games Cast by PawnGypsy. If you wish to see more commented games, follow my social media pages below. Okay, looks like Champion Select's done. And we still have not seen Olaf banned out, but Purple Team this game did decide to actually pick it up. And for interesting picks, we do see a lot of different picks this game, as you do see a Purple Team running down their lineup real quick with a Malzahar, Lulu, Varus, Olaf, and Cho'Gath. While the Blue Team has picked up a Darius, Lee Sin, Ahri, Ezreal, and Sona. Very different draft from the last games, as we do see Olaf switching hands. We are going to have a Darius up top, as I've not seen much of his action as of late, even though he is still a pretty good top laner. We also have Malzahar and Ahri, two picks that are virtually never chosen at this point. Ahri chosen a bit more than Malzahar, but Malzahar basically fallen off the map, though I do think he will do pretty well against Ahri, as he can really lock Ahri down with his combo if she doesn't pop her ultimate right away. In addition to this, we have Cleanse is picked up on both the AD carries, and we actually see a Cho'Gath jungle in this game instead of a Cho'Gath top like the last one. And I do think Cho'Gath jungle is going to have a pretty good time, as Lee Sin will try to do a bit of invasion, but I don't think he's going to actually try and shut down Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath just has enough sustain in the jungle that he can waste enough time of Lee Sin so that someone actually comes in and gets him. We also see Exhaust pick up on the supports, and the supports have basically been Sona and Lulu for every single game throughout the entire tournament, with the exception of one or two Blitzcranks that sneak through and one or two Tarics that have paired up with Graves. I also think we've seen maybe one Janna, but those have basically been the two supports picked throughout the entire tournament. They're incredibly good at every single situation. There's not a single situation where you shouldn't pick up Lulu or Sona, as they just bring a little bit of everything to the table, have incredibly powerful ultimates, and either really strong laning presence with the poke and heal from Sona, or the massive harassment and CC coming out from Lulu. Another advantage Lulu does have is she has a speed up that you can throw onto Olaf and really allow him to get to the back lines, as that's what killed Olaf in the previous game, as he was just never able to get back to Ezreal before the rest of his team was already in trouble, and he was basically trading Ezreal for the rest of his team in several of those late game fights. We are also going to have an Ahri for the first time, and I think Ahri is a rather nice choice here, as it will allow her to dodge things like the Cho'Gath Rupture, the ultimate of Varus, and actually allow our team to initiate, as they don't have any real good initiation other than flashing in with either a pull from Darius or a Sona Crescendo. And that charm is also going to be a really nice touch in the level 1 fight, as we have seen level 1 fights out and break out in every single one of these games, with the last one leading to a first blood kill. And I do think that there will be an invasion in this game, as they really do like to invade each other. And I do think the combination of Cho'Gath and Olaf will make a really nice invasion, as the red team has invaded every single game so far. And I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with a Lux like they did in the last few, as Lux I don't believe was banned, but apparently they didn't want her. They decided to go with Malzahar and go for a bit more of a push and his really good lockdown. I'm really kind of curious to see how he does. He's a good champion. He's just underplayed. He has a nice area effect silence that should combo really nicely with a Cho'Gath silence and Rupture. They can easily keep people down for 4 or 5 seconds without being able to use any abilities. And this blue team is going to really rely on abilities to actually get anything off. And if the other thing is, Darius is going to have a very hard time getting in there, as Lulu has a massive slow, Olaf has the Axis, and Cho'Gath has his Rupture. If he can actually get into fights, he'll do a lot of damage, but I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to get into any of these fights, as he's fairly immobile. Looks like we are going to see several nice skins coming out, as we do have some of the newer ones, and it looks like we're going to have basically standard start all around. I don't expect to see anything fancy, though Ezreal has opted to go for a longsword. Red team is looking to run up top, as they have put multiple pings there. They might even try just sitting 5-man in the top bush and going for an early first blood. Though I do think they're going to wrap around and go for blue that way, as that would be a pretty safe bet. Or maybe not. They're pinging those top bushes. I'm not sure it's such a good idea, though. Darius has come up there and might be able to spot them out if they do try and go in. Question is, will he actually see them? I've not left the bushes yet. I do think they realize Darius is somewhere in the area. But considering how they're wrapping around, it looks like they're going to just pincer in on Darius, as he does get hit with the Olaf axe and the slow by Varus. Rupture does miss, but he is forced to flash away. Varus and Lulu are going to go down bottom, and it means that Lee Sin is probably going to have to start red, as they don't want to risk having that entire team jump on him at blue. And as I said last game, I'm kind of surprised that neither team has thrown out a ward at race. Sona has thrown out a nice ward there at blue buff, which should keep track of which way Cho'Gath goes. And Cho'Gath will be back just in time, as Olaf versus Darius is basically going to be a farm off, unless the junglers come in and really disrupt that match off. And I think Olaf will get the better of him. Cho'Gath is fairly low on mana, but he should be just fine as soon as he picks up the blue buff. And we are going to have Lee Sin starting red, looking for an early gank. Looks like Cho'Gath will be just doing the race, or wolves, and then going through a standard jungle route. Lulu has thrown out a ward at the blue buff for some reason. I'm not sure why. Though up top, Olaf has decided to ward the river. Same thing with Darius, as that early ward is really vital for anyone playing top lane. Lee Sin taking a lot of damage, but going smiteless with that early buff. Cho'Gath also going smiteless as well. And Olaf should be able to throw out his axes and do just fine. Though Ezreal and Sona did decide to pick up those double golems before actually joining the fight, which means they will get that early level 2. Though Varus and Lulu are working really hard to get to him. And we are just going to see a lot of farming. I don't expect to see any ganks anytime soon, as both teams are really kind of prepared for a gank, with the top lane being warded and both Lee Sin and Cho'Gath up top. Lee Sin might actually try and roam down the middle lane, as Malzahar is fairly immobile early game, but he does have his flash. Cho'Gath coming up top, but he is spotted by the ward, and Darius will be forced back. Lee Sin also going to come up for the counter gank, and will they actually be able to land anything on Darius? Looks like they do land the rupture, but it is not enough. Cho'Gath gets pulled in, and he does flash away. He is pretty low. Lee Sin going to come up here and will miss, but he should be able to pick up Cho'Gath for the first blood, as Darius' Ignite does finish off the last hit. And that is just a really risky move by Cho'Gath, going up and going that deep. They could have just hit him for a bunch of damage and backed up, but they don't, and give away first blood. Both of these teams are tied 1-1. And this game does determine who gets to go to the offline qualifiers of Riot Season 3 event. Both of these teams really want to win this game, and that is not the way you want to start off. Olaf is going to get trounced up top if he doesn't get another gank real soon, and Cho'Gath's looking to gank right away, as he knows he does not have a Olaf is going to be in a lot of trouble up top. We can't actually flip that action, as Ahri is going to be just continuing to farm against Malzahar. Malzahar, well, farming a little worse, as Lee Sin does jump in. Olaf does get hit by the axes of Darius, but nothing happens, as we do see Lulu throwing some nice harassment out onto this Sona, and I definitely think Varus is going to have to win his lane pretty hard if his team's going to win. He won the lane last time. Will he be able to win it again? And that's really one of those factors that snowballed pretty hard, as Ezreal is in good shape at this point. He has not burned much of his potions yet. Varus is finally using his last potion, as Sona's just working on healing them up. We do have Darius going back and picking up a ruby crystal. Olaf going back as well. Probably should pick up a cloth armor at this point, but he opts for boots instead, in addition to some more wards. Varus doing a good bit of damage to that Sona, really taking her down, and I don't think she has enough mana to sustain herself for very long, which means that Varus will get an advantage in this bottom lane. In the mid lane, Ahri is trouncing Malzahar up by 10 CS at the moment. And we are going to see Lee Sin come to the mid lane. Will he actually be able to land a gank? I'm not so sure. He does, but he misses, as Cho'Gath comes in the middle just to kind of throw out some support. Malzahar going to push this mid lane, and I do think Malzahar is going to have to push and roam this game. He needs to use his ultimate pretty effectively. Looks like Varus and Lulu do want to go onto the Sona, who is virtually out of mana. Though she does have Lee Sin coming behind her. And Lee Sin might try something, but I do think he's going to be spotted out. Or maybe not, as Varus is going to go back with Lulu. And if they do go back, that would be a really nice move here. As I think Varus is he has picked up more potions, and the Vampiric Scepter. Darius up top is going to be in a little trouble, but Olaf misses that first axe, though Rupture does land. Silence going out as well. Olaf just not hitting his axes this game. And if he would hit one or two more axes, he would easily be able to trade with Darius, but he is just not. Darius is winning all these exchanges rather handily. And I do think Darius is a nice pick against Olaf, especially now that he has a lead, and a very healthy lead. He should easily be able to snowball this to victory. Varus has come back with the Vampiric Scepter and potions. Looks like Malzahar is getting jumped in the middle lane, but he does not go down, as the Ignite was burned and Flash was burned on Malzahar. Olaf should be just fine if he wants to throw his axes and farm from a distance, leveling those axes first. Darius does pull him in. Darius is level 6, so Olaf is in a lot of trouble if he does decide to pop his ultimate. More axes fly from Olaf, as he's just going to farm under tower and try and make a comeback here, as I don't think Darius really wants to jump Olaf under tower, especially with Olaf about to hit 6 at any point now. Though Cho'Gath is coming up, and he is not going to be able to do anything. This Cho'Gath's still level 4, as he has just not had any time in the jungle to really farm. Lee Sin is now just hitting 5, as we do see Ahri leading the CS boards at 53, with bottom laners both right behind her. So Ezreal's taking a good bit of damage, as Varus does throw out his big combo and actually proccing that Blight. And the question is, will Lulu be able to land anything onto that team to actually really stop him? And I think Varus is going to be pretty safe down there. We do have Malzahar picking up a Hextech Revolver, interesting choice, but will allow him to push the lane very hard and stay pretty safe against Ahri, as his Malefic Visions do gain a whole lot of spell vamp. We do see Lulu throwing out some more hazard to Ezreal, and Ezreal's just not able to deal with this harassment too well, as Sona is burning her mana and is not going to be able to poke very well, which is something you really want Sona to be able to do. And it looks like Pink Ward down bottom, as there is a pause coming out. We will see what happens with this pause. Might be another disconnect, as we had a long disconnect in the first game. Okay, looks like that was a fairly short pause, and we're going to get back to things as Lee Sin does come over and steal the blue buff away from Malzahar and Cho'Gath. And he is going to run down here. Will Lulu spot him out? It looks like Lulu does spot him out, as she has placed ward at the last second, preventing Lee Sin from coming in. And at this point, the game is fairly even, though the blue team does have a nice advantage thanks to that top lane and mid lane really winning on CS, up 20 CS on both counts. But as I said, this game is going to come down to how well Varus can really win these fights. Ahri's going to jump in, as Lee Sin does miss from point blank range. Malzahar does throw out his ultimate, but he will not be enough, as Lee Sin does get away at the last second. And that's showing the immobility of Malzahar really getting punished this mid lane. And I don't think that was a wise choice. They should have just gone with the Lux like they did last game, because Lux did a really great job mid lane, even though Ahri is a soft counter to Lux. Lux is just so good, I don't think it matters. Ahri has gone back and picked up a needlessly large rod. Lee Sin going for that Wriggle's Lantern. Not sure what Darius is going to pick up. Olaf going for possibly a Tiamat this game. A very different build than the ones we've seen in the others, where they basically go straight health. We do see Cho'Gath picking up a Philosopher's Stone. Looks like Crescendo goes off on Sona, but Varus is okay. Just barely, though the last hit will go finish him off. Lulu trying to finish off Ezreal, and he does. But that's Ezreal picking up a kill for Lulu picking up a kill. Not very worth it for the red side, as even though Lulu does benefit well from kills, the AD carry benefits far better, as Varus has decided to pick up a Doran's Blade. We do see Sightstone up onto Sona, and Boots finally picked up by Malzahar. Malzahar not having a very good game, neither is Olaf, as he might actually, it looks like Olaf, instead of going for Tiamat, is just going to go for the Philosopher's Stone and a Warmongs, going the long way about it, and he's finally picked up a Cloth Armor. Looks like we are going to see Warmong's up onto Darius, going for just tanky cleanup duty, as that's really what he's good at, as he can apply his stacks over a long period of time, take all that harassment while he does so, then pop his ultimate on as many people as possible. So if we have Lulu picking up a Sightstone and about to pick up a Philosopher's Stone, Ezreal might be going for Trinity Force or just a casual Sheen here. They could eventually go into the Iceborne Gauntlets. Olaf getting some nice time up to farm and is almost caught back up. Still down by about 10 CS at this point, but that is a nice catch up. Mid lane is real loser here, with Malzahar down 40 CS at this point. And likely going to be more if Ahri can land another really good combo on him. Cho'Gath coming and trying to gank mid, but to no success. As Cho'Gath's ganks have not been very successful. They've all been really weak. Lee Sin down bottom does land onto Varus, and this is dead Varus as he does not have his ultimate up. And this might also be a dead Lulu, as she is pretty low, and Lee Sin will be able to land that kick. No, he doesn't, but Ezreal does finish off the kill. And this bottom lane is not going well. Looks like Malzahar is going to do a good bit of damage to Ahri, but Ahri will live, thanks to the fact that they did not time their CCs together well enough. And nothing is going well for the red side this game. They had their chances, but they just not finishing any of these fights. And the blue side is capitalizing on every single mistake. The blue side will be picking up Dragon here and extending their lead to about 4,000 gold at this point. And it is not going to get any easier, as they just don't have any real lanes winning. Every single lane is losing by just a little bit. Olaf going to be pulled in up top and taken fairly low, as he will have his axe in a moment and just be able to throw it across these minions. And I'm not sure what they can do at this point other than play for late game. You always have an option of any team, regardless of who you are, of just playing for late game and hoping the other team makes a big mistake. And that's what the red side has to do this game. They've lost a little too much early, and they're not going to be able to come back with a few small wins. Looks like Ezreal has completed the Sheen. Brutalizer up onto Lee Sin instead of going for Wriggle's Lantern. We do see Lulu coming in here with Lee Sin. And the Crescendo will land on Lulu. Lulu should go down here, but no, she dodges the Ezreal ultimate rather nicely. She is pretty low in dodging abilities, and there's the exhaust. And that's a dead Lulu with another kill picked up on Ezreal. Ezreal sitting at 4-1-0. And this Ezreal should be able to snowball this game to victory, along with Ahri, who's just farming like a beast. Darius up top is keeping Olaf pretty far down, as Olaf really can't even engage him, having to pop the ultimate just to stay alive. Lee Sin jumping in on Varus as Varus gets pretty low, and Lee Sin will be able to pick up this kill as Sona actually does steal it on the back end. And this is a pretty big snowball in game number 3, as we do see Malzahar picking up a Doran's ring, and the blue side going to push down this bottom turret. Well, Darius pushes this top turret. This Darius pick working out extremely well after picking up first blood. Olaf just has not had the opportunity to go in, and every time he does, Darius throws out a bunch of damage. Malzahar will be getting his first blue buff of the game, and hopefully he'll be able to snowball this game back into his team's favor, but I don't think he'll have the damage to do so, as Malzahar is just so far behind. He's down 40 CS at this point, has given up a kill and is just in no condition to really fight Ahri, as Ahri is likely to go for a Deathfire Grasp up first. Though the one thing good about Malzahar is he can farm pretty well from a distance. Just throw the Malefic Visions and the pool down, and you can basically take all the minions with you really quick. Varus and Lulu are going to have to do a much better job of farming, as they aren't getting that kind of free farm they were the first game, or the second game, excuse me. We do have a BF sword picked up on Ezreal, likely going to go into that Bloodthirster. Double Doran's up onto Varus in addition to the Vampiric Scepter, just looking to stay alive in this lane, as they are not having any luck with Lee Sin doing a wonderful job ganking this entire time. We do have Lee Sin up stealing the red buff. This Cho'Gath is going to find it in a few moments stolen, but this Cho'Gath has also not worked out well at all. He is just not gotten into any of these fights, and when he does, he's not helped out his team. He's almost hurt more than he's helped. Lee Sin looking to go in top, and they will probably dive this tower as soon as it goes down up top, as Olaf is forced to just run away. Cho'Gath does find Lee Sin in the jungle, but that's not good for Cho'Gath, as he doesn't have any real way of fighting Lee Sin. He does have his ultimate up, but that is not enough. He's really far behind in farm compared to the laners, who are farming extremely well. And it looks like this will be the second tower going down, with the first tower going down being the top one.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
And with 2 towers down now, it is a almost 6,000 gold lead for the blue team, as they just have grabbed blue up for Ahri, Cho'Gath mid, and Cho'Gath is going to be pinched on by the Darius and Lee Sin. Olaf is going to come help. Malzahar does throw out his combo on Ahri, but Ahri should be able to just jump away as the Ezreal ultimate does come across, and that's a dead Malzahar. Malzahar just not doing enough damage to pick up Ahri. Ahri living with very little health. Cho'Gath in a lot of trouble as Ezreal comes in, and Darius with a dunk. Darius has completed his Wormmongs at this point. Deathfire grasp up on Ahri, and should be pretty much game over at this point. The blue team has snowballed this to victory after a failed gank up top. Cho'Gath just never really recovered from that. They had some good ideas, but their lanes are just way too weak. Malzahar not having the damage he needs, Olaf not having the tankiness, and Varus being camped down bottom, thanks to the fact that the other lanes are winning so heavily. Lee Sin could just sit down there as much as he wanted and not really get behind. Right now we do see a needlessly large rod picked up on the Malzahar. We are going to see a likely early Aegis of the Legion picked up by Sona. Lee Sin going to go tanky after picking up the Brutalizer, having picked up that Giant's Belt. And we are going to have Cho'Gath harassed pretty heavily in the jungle, with Cho'Gath having to actually smite the blue ray to make sure he gets it. And with all 3 outer towers down, it is a 7,000 gold lead for the blue team. They are just winning in every single lane, every single facet of this game. And they really put their act together after that kind of disappointing second game, where they kept it close, but a few really bad decisions ended them. Looks like we are going to have Malzahar jumped in on the middle, as we do have... No, they decided not to. Lee Sin and Sona were trying to get there, but just not happening, as Sona will find 2 wards here for her to take down, as she does throw the pink ward there, and Dragon will be respawning in a few moments, with the blue team going to pick that up. And this should bring it up to about 9,000 gold lead, as there is no way that red side can actually contest this. And we are going to see a Wormmongs up onto Olaf pretty soon. And he is looking to take this bottom tower, and the blue team is looking to set a bait for Varus and Lulu as they do come down bottom. Cho'Gath in a lot of trouble as he is hit by the charm. Lee Sin jumps in there, and big damage by Lee Sin. And this Cho'Gath, really not very effective this game. He's going for an early Aegis of the Legion, in addition to the Philosopher's Stone. Sona coming in the middle, throws out her ultimate, as they do jump in on Malzahar with some massive damage. Nice use of the ultimate there by Sona, in addition to just comboing the CCs perfectly. And this should be another tower down, as I don't think there's a good way to defend it. Lulu has a little bit of wave clear, but not enough, as Varus is in a lot of trouble as Ezreal absolutely wrecks him. Ezreal in just such a better position, having completed the Sheen and Bloodthirster, while Varus is still working on that Bloodthirster and picked up several Doran Blades. Doran Blades are pretty good for trying to make a comeback, but not when the Ezreal gets this far ahead, sitting at 5-1-2 with over 30 CS on you. Looks like we do see Ahri picking up another blue, and they will the red side will be in a lot of trouble. Blue side just needs to kind of group up and start a push. The blue team has every single advantage in the book. They can easily take a fight under tower, especially with how tanky this Darius is, and Lee Sin, who has picked up boots mobility. Iceborne Gauntlets up on Ezreal, and it is looking very bleak for the red team. Wormmongs has been completed up on Olaf. Malzahar likely going to go for a death cap. Cho'Gath has completed that Aegis of the Legion, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough to really do anything in these fights. They're just so far behind in every single lane. If they had one lane that was doing well and shutting the other down, it might be okay, but every single lane is doing poorly. Blue side running up here, looks like they might actually try in Baron, as it wouldn't be too bad. There are no wards in Baron yet, and most teams don't expect a 20-minute Baron. They do think they're going to be doing Dragon as they don't have a ward on Dragon, but Dragon has been taken early. Darius is just going to go jump in there and tank Baron up with Sona throwing out a few heals as well. And that will be a Baron taken down at the just past 20-minute mark. Losing kind of jump up there on Cho'Gath, but no, Cho'Gath just wisely backs away. And Cho'Gath not able to really do anything. Possibly could have tried to flash and smite or feast it, but it was a pretty risky move. Varus going to pick up a tower down bottom, but not before the blue team pushes in and is going for the killing blow here. If they can pick up that one inhibitor, it is going to be a real dangerous proposition. That blue side, that one inhibitor means they get full control over all the lanes. They can pick up those last two outer towers. They can finish off the dragon, which will respawn in a few moments, and they can take off all the buffs when they respawn, as they are fairly close to respawning. And I'm just not sure what the red side can do. Blue is in complete control of this game, and it is not looking good. This tower will go down. Malzahar might pop his ultimate here onto Darius, who's taking a lot of damage. But there's the ultimate from Varus going out, and it does do a good bit of damage, but it does not keep him in place long enough, as Ahri lives with just a little bit of health thanks to a Lee-Sin shield and a few heals from Sona. And we are going to see basically both teams backing up. And with both teams backing up, it looks like they are just going, blue team is going to actually try and rush, as they do see Lee-Sin jump in there and kick on Malzahar. Malzahar does throw it out onto Ezreal, but not a whole lot, as Lee-Sin jumps away at the last second and Darius starts his dunk parade. And with 2 kills down, this first inhibitor will go down right at the 22-minute mark. And Ezreal will be backing up, the entire blue team backing up as well. They have a lot of gold to shop with. They have to push out the top and bottom lanes. Dragon will be up soon, in addition to the buffs on both sides. In addition to the blue team's buffs actually being up currently, and the buffs from the red side will be up as well. Death Cap completed by Ahri, in addition to another blasting wand. Aegis of the Legion up onto Sona, in addition to that ruby sightstone. Looks like we do have a Zeal picked up and likely going to go into a static shiv. Top tower goes down from minions, but that's no real concern, as it's not a whole lot of gold, and it's a 10,000 gold lead for the blue team. They're really snowballing this game. Lee-Sin might go for a Sunfire Cape next, as he does picked up the Chain Vest and Giant's Belt. Brutalizer likely into a Black Cleaver on Darius, as we do see Boots of Mobility picked up by Sona as well. We do have Olaf picking up the Warden's Mail, likely going to bring that into either a Frozen Heart. Yeah, I definitely think a Frozen Heart would be his choice there. He needs the cooldown reduction to basically spam out damage, as they don't have a whole lot of damage. Bloodthirster has been completed by Varus, in addition to almost completing the Zeal. Deathcap almost up on Malzahar, and Lulu is going to go for the Shoya's Reverie after putting the Ruby Sightstone and Philosopher's Stone. Looks like the wave clear is pretty decent, as Darius does get chunked down under the tower, and he will just barely go down, as he did survive all that CC, but all that damage being thrown onto Darius is not very good. Lee-Sin picks up Malzahar on the back end, and Ahri's just running through the entire team. And if Lee-Sin can pick up the kill on Cho'Gath here, that might be a good game. Sona does finish it off, and they are going to pick up another inhibitor really quick, as super minions will start to group up in the mid lane, and Lulu does try and defend the base a little bit, but she is just not enough for this game. And this should be the good game calls coming out, though Varus will respawn in about 5 seconds. Lee-Sin is tanky enough to actually keep them alive through all of this. Sona heals will be enough, and that is going to be a good game with the Nexus falling here at the 24-minute mark, with an absolute snowball by the blue team. That early Cho'Gath gank really just set that top lane back so far. Cho'Gath couldn't get anything done, and Darius really crunched that lane, in addition to Malzahar just not being the pick they thought it was. Malzahar had opportunities early, but he just never farmed as well as Ahri, and Ahri just jumped around him whenever he tried to use anything important. In addition to that, with the both mid lane and top lane winning very hard for the blue side, Ezreal got all the ganks down bottom, and he really got snowballed hard. And that's just how these games go sometimes. Thank you for watching Games Cast by PawnGypsy. For more commented games, please visit my YouTube and stream channels.